My day begins well before most people are out of bed. All the long days and sleepless nights drive me to be the best.
We absolutely slayed them in here.
Alright, let's get up here and we'll turn them loose.
He's got the place tore up. The sun's going down. We got one more farm to hit. That's commitment there.
We've been turning them up. This is 8. Pretty good odds.
We're good at what we do.
This is my story. This is my time. This is trapping time.
Trapping Time is brought to you by Blind Turtle at blindturtle.net, Smokey's Deer Lures at smokiesdeerlure.com, Blackwater Hunting Services at blackwaterhunting.com, Southern Ohio Outfitters at southernohio.outfitters.com, Papio Creek Trapping Supply at papiocreektrappingsupply.com, Big Game Gut Glove at biggamegutglove.com, Hunters Help Technologies at huntershelp.com, Night Owl Lures at nightowllures.com, Hilltop Outdoor Supply at hilltopoutdoorsupply.com, Dakota Line Snares at dakotalinesnares.com, PCS Outdoors at pcsoutdoors.com, Duke Trap Company at duketraps.com, Old South Trapping Lures at oldsouthLures.com, Webster's Predator Control at shop.websterspredatorcontrol.com, Little Whiskey Girl at littlewhiskeygirl.com, Wolf Creek Products at wolfcreekproducts.net, Southern Snares and Supply at southernsnares.com, Lennon Lures at lennonlures.com, Murray's Trapping Supply at murrayslures.com, Smitty's Stretchers and Trapping Supplies. Look them up on Facebook. Hags Brand Trapping Products by J3 Outdoors at j30.com.
Hello folks and welcome to this week's show. This week we're going to do it just a little bit different. We're going to show you some of the pitfalls that I went through as a coyote trapper, and I'm going to solve those problems for you this week. You know, when I was a young kid growing up in western Pennsylvania, I grew up with a family of hound hunters. And when I decided I wanted to become a trapper, that was kind of a tough bridge to cross. I wanted to trap raccoons. All my buddies were out trapping foxes and stuff, and it just didn't really appeal to me. At that time, raccoons were running like $20 a piece, and you take a kid who's out mowing grass for $5 an hour, you can really rack up some money doing it that way. Well, I was out catching my raccoons, and what ends up happening to any high school boy, his ego gets the best of him, and I wanted to become a fox trapper. I spent every waking minute trying to learn as much as I could about that animal. And I trapped foxes successfully up until my college years. Well, then what happened? The coyotes moved in. I'm coming from an area where if somebody shot a coyote, it was actually in the newspaper. I come from an area where the population just wasn't there. But when they came, they exploded. They practically ran the fox out overnight. So I wanted to be a coyote trapper. I could catch foxes, so I couldn't understand why I couldn't catch a coyote. At that time, of course, there was no YouTube. You couldn't get on there and get all this great trapping information. I read every book and got every DVD that I could find and tried to just get as much coyote knowledge as I can. And I did catch some, but I wasn't catching the numbers that I felt that I should. So after about 2 years of catching minimal catches on coyotes, I finally had to step back and basically forget everything I'd learned, because everything I'd read and everything I've watched was about coyotes in the West or coyotes in the South. And where I'm from, we're trapping just a little bit different type of animal, a lot because of the terrain and sheer body size. So when you're going after an animal like that, you really got to adapt your procedures to make it work. So I had stepped back, I revised my whole outlook on coyote trapping. I knew I had to make it simple. I had to be able to get in, make a set fast, and get back out. On my remakes, I wanted to spend a little extra time, make sure I make a good remake, get it made, and get on down to the next one. I knew it was going to be a numbers game. If we're going to get into putting up large numbers of coyotes, you got to be able to get a lot of traps out. You know, you want to cover as much property as you can, but you want to be able to get traps out. And the only way you're going to get a lot of traps out in a day is by designing a system that you can get out there and make it really fast. You know, as far as my equipment goes, I want to keep it as simple and as least expensive as possible. There are people out there that if they see a trap, especially with a coyote in it, they're going to take it. You know, so I try to keep all that stuff as simple as possible. And with my system, I guarantee you're going to start catching coyotes, just like I have. When we come back, we're going to put some of this gear to work. The Hole Getter by Papio Creek. It's all about speed and efficiency.
For some of us, trapping season never ends. It's in our blood. It defines the very person we are. Let Southern Snares be part of your trapping world. Be sure to try out our best-selling capital punishment predator bait and our new pure Gator oil.
The Big Game Gut Glove is revolutionizing the way big game hunters and trappers are successful in the field. The 26-inch version fits over your elbows and protects you and your expensive hunting clothing from blood or cold water. They're made to fit your hands from extra small to extra large.
What I like about them, I can feel with them.
Existing products on the market don't give you the feel or protection you need. Wet or dry, the special non-slip grip bonds tightly to whatever you're handling. The Big Game Gut Gloves are reusable so you save money and promote going green. This portion of the show is brought to you by Animalistic Outdoors. Check them out at coyotevideos.net.
Welcome back. Now I want to show you a couple different methods as far as making a typical setup. I want to show you the old school method. I'm going to show you my way of making one. We're going to come in here and we're going to dig our trap bed out. Now I'm using a 175. Unfortunately, I've been trapping for a long time, so I usually can get pretty close as far as where I need to be at with the trap. So you want to take and get this thing down. We're shooting for about 2 inches. Now a lot of guys, they'll come in here and after they get this cleaned out, they'll come in here with a hammer, pound this down, because you want a solid trap bed. You want this thing as solid as can be. Now what we're wanting to do, we want to get this trap bed in there. I like running I call them the ears. I like the levers running towards the direction I want to make my hole. We're going to pop this trap down in here. Now if you look, I've got a lot of daylight around this trap. So what do I have to do? We're going to have to take some of this dirt and we're going to put it back in there and try and pack it in, because we want this as solid as possible. So when this coyote comes in here, we don't want him coming in and getting that trap to wobble. If you look, that trap's still kind of moving a little bit. So you need to try to do your best. I mean, granted, we got some dry dirt here, but we want to try and get as much packed down in here so this trap doesn't move. Now I like to use peat moss, so we're going to take this peat moss, we're going to cover this back up, because we don't want to worry. It's easier to bring peat moss in than it is to be hunting for dirt. So next thing we're going to do is find my driver. We're going to take our driver and we're actually going to angle it. Now if you look at the angle of this, I'm a little steeper than the typical 45 degree that everybody else talks about. Reason being, I can get away with these animals working a little bit closer. Kind of reason when I talk about I can catch foxes and coyotes out of the same set. We're going to ream that hole out a little bit. It doesn't take a super big hole. The guys used to make the 3-inch dirt holes. Those days are gone for me. If I'm making a 3-inch dirt hole, it's because I've caught about every coyote I can catch easily out of there, and I'm trying to catch out 1 or 2 stragglers, just something to catch his eye. Now I've been able to pretty much make this set fairly efficient. Now if you want to change it up a little bit, you could take some grass if you want to blend it in. This is where my cutters and stuff kind of come in, and you can kind of blend that in so it doesn't look like a big dirt patch, which is great. In late season it works really good, but keep that thing looking as natural as possible. Now I want to show you another way that I like to make sets. This is an efficient way, but it has its flaws. I'm going to show you another way that I like to make sets right beside it, and I'll show you the difference. We're going to take a cookie cutter, we're going to pound it down and bury it. I have it set at 2 inches deep. I know that when I pound that thing home, it'll be 2 inches. Get our bed made. Drive our wolf fang down in. Bedded trap. So much faster. I know that trap's not moving. It's perfectly solid because it's wedged down in there. We're going to take our peat moss. We're going to cover this trap up. Now look at the advantage of this. We have solid ground everywhere around here. It makes a big difference with the solid ground because as coyote comes in here, this method here, we knew we had dirt that was loose on the outside that we've tried to pack. But with the cookie cutter, it's completely solid all the way around. The only place he can put his paw is going to be in the kill zone. So the next thing we need to do is put our dirt hole in. Now if you look at the time difference that I have had just in between this, it's really going to save you a lot of time because you're going to be able to get a lot more traps in. We're going to do the same thing, and if I'm Mr. Coyote and I'm walking around here, we're on solid ground, bam. The only place he can put his paw is in the kill zone. That's why I like my method compared to the old school method. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about lure usage.
The trophy moment only lasts a couple of seconds, but the story will be passed on for generations. They only see the glory, not the sacrifice. But I don't wait for my tall tale of glory. I handcraft my journey from start to finish. They don't see what goes on behind closed doors. An epic saga is worth 1,000 words, but my story boils down to 3. Little Whiskey Girl. Save luck for the weekend hunter.
Who better to get your trapping supplies from than trappers who know what you need in the field?
Come on in.
PCS Outdoors is one-stop shopping for name-brand trapping, predator hunting and calling supplies, shooting and pest control gear at discount prices.
A lure for every animal you'd be targeting.
PCS Outdoors stands above the competition.
Quality of Sabo brand snares being made here in Michigan.
Go to PCSOutdoors.com for great selection and prices that'll make you want to stock up for your next trapping or outdoor adventure.
Where'd you get all that stuff? DakotaLineSnares.com. I bet it cost you a fortune to ship all that. Nope, not DakotaLineSnares.com. It's $9.95. Flat rate, it doesn't matter what you get.
Dakota Line Snares and Trapping Products has everything you need right at your fingertips. Our warehouse is packed with trapping supplies you need to be successful on your trap line, and with flat rate shipping of $9.95 on all orders, you get your money's worth.
Hey, what are you doing? I'm going to put my order in at DakotaLineSnares.com now.
Welcome back. You know, one of the most frequent questions that I get when I'm either doing seminars or demos or when trappers are just Facebook and messaging me, you know, how much lure do I use and what types of lure? You know, normally in my lure bag, I have a lot of different lures, but the basic mainstay for me is I like a good coyote gland lure and a good fox gland lure. I always want to have something like that because, you know, I'm always making 2 sets. I want to make sure that I've got at least a gland lure at one of the sets. You know, canines are social animals. They want to be with other canines. So by having a coyote gland lure out there, or even a red fox gland lure out there, sometimes that's enough to just pique his curiosity to see who's been there before him. I like using baits. You guys all know I love the SK Mice Meat by Webster's Predator Control and Smokey's Bait and Old South's Rodent's Revenge. but each one of those baits have their time of year. You know, the SK mice really thrives good late in the year when it's cold. That skunky odor is just enough to bring those coyotes in from a distance. When it's cold, they're hungry, they're working the sets. Now when I'm using some type of bait, remember guys, we're not feeding coyotes. All we need to do is put enough in that hole to pique their curiosity, to make them come in and want to get a bite of it. We're talking about something about the size of a quarter. You know, I see guys out there going through bait like crazy. They're using like walnut-sized chunks. And I stress to them, guys, we're not feeding them. We're not growing coyotes. We're just wanting to give them enough smell to get them to come in. So if you use that little tip as far as baiting goes, stay away from your skunky stuff early in the season. Go with your mild baits. You know, you want something that just kind of lingers out there enough to draw them in. If you start using skunky baits early in the year, you're going to catch a lot of the non-target animals. You know, the raccoons, the skunks, the possums, because they're attracted to that. When it starts cooling down and those animals are holing up, that's when you can get away with the skunkier baits. Now, when I'm using lure, you know, my general rule of thumb is I just want a little bit. We're talking less than the size of a pea. When you start getting more than that, when that smell is so overpowering, those animals don't have to come close to the set to work it. They can scent check from a distance. How many of you guys out there have made flat sets? And I've heard this story all the time. He walks up, he stays about 3 foot away, he urinates and walks on. Why does he do that? Because he doesn't need to get close to the set to smell it. He can smell it from a distance. I feel the least we can put down there and still generate a smell, the better. We want that animal working close. I mean, we're using a trap with a 5 5/8 inch jaw spread. We don't have a lot of room for him to be standing 3 foot away. We need to make him commit and put his feet up close, so use less lure. I like a thicker lure. You know, the type of gland lures I like to use, they're a little bit thicker. The reason I like them is when you get with the runnier lures, rain. Who doesn't trap where it rains? That rain will wash that lure away. It seems like the thicker lures, they hang around a little bit longer and they seem to work a little bit longer. You know, I've caught coyotes 3 weeks after I've lured up a set. Everyone's like, oh my God, how many times did you re-lure it? I didn't. You know, my general rule of thumb when it comes to re-luring is I don't re-lure until I catch one. And sometimes I won't even do it then. If I catch a big coyote and he's been in there all night long, this little drop of gland lure isn't going to do any good. He's already got so much smell there, so why waste lure when you can be using it somewhere else on the trap line?
What am I using there? Teaspoon? It doesn't take a lot. You want to use enough bait that gets their attention, but bait gets expensive. You know, you want to make it last. And so, I mean, you got a right combination.
When we come back, we're going to show you some serious coyote action.
You take every step to make sure your hunt is safe. Now, take safety to the next level and make sure your field dressing is as safe as the hunt. Hunters Help Technologies has found a way to make sure your post-hunt responsibilities are as safe as possible. The Easy Gut tool helps you get the chest cavity open without cutting anything but that skin that you want to cut. The trachea cutter does just what it says. You just reach into the chest cavity and punch right through that tough trachea. No more fumbling with a knife to try to avoid cutting yourself in the process. Go to EasyGut.com or Amazon.
Do you need a blind that will keep you warm on a cold winter day? Do you need a blind that won't blow away on a windy fall afternoon? Do you need a blind that will never wear out? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you need a Blind Turtle hard-shell hunting blind. This solid one-piece unit is perfect for deer hunters, turkey hunters, archery hunters, and gun hunters. Put it this way, if you hunt, the Blind Turtle is perfect for you.
What do you demand in a quality knife? You want a knife that works as hard as you do. Weeby knives are made for trappers who want efficiency and perfection. The Weeby Elite double-edged fleshing knife has one edge that's ultra sharp, and the other side has just the right edge for pushing fat and meat for perfectly fleshed furs. And don't forget about the Weeby Wicked Sharp, the planet's sharpest skinner. When the blade goes dull, simply snap on a new one, you're ready to go. Find them at DakotaLineSnares.com.
You know, let's take a look into my gear bag. And you know, I've always stressed I want to keep it simple. Anybody that watches the show knows that this is my trap of choice. It's a 175 Duke coil spring. It's 2 coiled. I have it set up with 12 inches of chain, number 2 chain, and I've got a crunch proof swivel on the end. And I love my wolf fang anchors. To me, this is the simplest, most effective setting system they have out there. I've got my trap. I've got my driver. This thing will drive wolf fangs, as well as a lot of times you'll see that I'll use it to actually make my dirt hole. I got my cookie cutter. Wouldn't be caught out in the field without it. Makes the perfect trap bed every time. It speeds everything up, and that's what we're about, speed and efficiency. Next thing we got, my big game gloves. I like them because I can feel with them. You know, we're not super odor control, but we don't go out of our way to cause a lot of odors, so that's why I like my gut gloves. I got a hammer here from Murray's Trapping Supply. It's a 3-pound hammer. It's got a digger on the outside. I like the digger because when the ground freezes, it's nice to clean those beds and stuff out, and sometimes you got to dig them out a little bit. Fiberglass handle, I don't have to worry about being out here and breaking it. I like to carry a long handled trowel with me. Get the D handle, get the D handle. I can't stress that enough. At the end of the day, after you set 75, 80 traps, if you're digging your dirt holes, let me tell you, you're gonna love this D handle. The last thing is a sifter. Well, say the last two things. I got a sifter and I got my shears. When I'm making a flat set and I'm wanting to blend it in, I love having these little shears here. I can blend that baby in and no one will ever even know there's a trap there. My sifter, a lot of times I may want to sift dirt back over my peat moss. If not, it's a good place to put my sod plug on when I move on to the next one. Now you're probably sitting at home wondering, why is Robby sitting in his truck? You know, during trapping season, I probably spend 50% of my time in this truck running the back roads and ridges chasing these coyotes. Now let's go check out the coyote catches that I got from this particular truck.
Well, I got a couple trapping buddies with me today, Hayden and Dalton. This is the first time them coming with me running the trap line. I snagged them before they were on their way to school, so hopefully we catch something here this morning. I have a couple traps set up here on this gas pipeline, and I got a carcass set up here. And anybody that knows me, my brush pile set is what I call it. And they've really been starting to hit just because it's been so cold. And sometimes I just think these animals get tired of the gland lures and even the curiosity lures, so I always throw a brush pile set out. It seems like when everything else isn't hitting, they'll hit. Some people call them gimmick sets, which I do sometimes. You'll catch 90% of your stuff on, we got this coyote, boys. See it? See it right there by them logs?
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah,
so we got us a coyote right here and a brush pile set. So we're gonna take and
he's trying to get out.
What do you think of them, boys? Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get out and we'll get a closer look at him and see what we got here. So
Looks like a fox.
it's coyote.
Need the gun?
Nah, not yet. We'll go look at him first. Love trapping with kids. What you guys think of that? Pretty cool. All right, let's get him out of the trap here, and I'll show you exactly what I did when I caught him. All right? That's pretty funny, isn't it? Now, guys, what I did on this one, I found this old deer carcass out here on this ridge, and the coyotes had been fooling around with it. Well, here in Pennsylvania, we're not allowed to just set a trap around bait like that. So what I did, I drug this carcass in here. You see this old log pile? Yeah. I took these logs and I piled up on top here, and I bedded a 175 Duke in front of it. And what's nice about this is you can control them. You can set these logs and stuff and make them kind of flat to where the trap's at, you know. If you look at this dog here, see how his hair's all kind of roughed up and everything? He's got what they call mange. And what ends up happening with these coyotes and stuff, especially with mange, it gets throughout the rest of the population and it'll actually kill them. But if you look around his shoulders and stuff, starting to lose some fur. This property here has actually been pretty bad about that over the last couple of years. We've been running into, you know, mange problems. So. But, anytime you can get one of these out there, you guys are both deer hunters, so if you like hunting deer, you don't want to take a chance of losing them. And right there is one of the biggest deer killers there are. So, well, I'm glad you guys get to come with me and see this coyote. We'll get him out of here, and we're not going to remake this set because we're pulling our line today. So we're just going to yank him out. We'll get him out of here, and we'll get down the road and see if we can catch anything else.
Man, I tell you what, all that coyote action just gets me pumped up. Well, folks, I'd like to thank everyone for following us this season. We had an awesome time bringing Trapping Time to you. And be sure to watch us next year when we come back. Hey, the reruns are still on, so you might as well check them out every Tuesday night at 8:30. There may be something that you missed from a previous season. Be sure to check us out on Facebook. And guys, feel free to message me. If you've got that dying coyote or fox or raccoon or muskrat question, I will answer you personally. Log on to Facebook, go to Trapping Time TV, send me a message. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you guys. You know, when I was growing up, that's what I wanted, somebody to give me info, and I'm there for you. Be sure to check out our website, trappingtimetv.com, where you can get all the products that we carry and we use on the show. Trapping Time apparel, Trapping Time hats. You know, go check it out. You can even purchase our new DVD there, which we kind of just touched a little bit on today, but there's over 2 hours of information there. So we really appreciate everything, and we thank you, the fans, the most. So, as we always say, until next time, we're keeping the tradition alive here at Trapping Time. You know, it's kind of symbolic. The sun's going down, end of the day, end of another season of Trapping Time. Actually, I think this field here is where we knocked our first coyote out in the highest, so it's kind of like the beginning to the end. You know, and that's the thing about trapping. I mean, there is no off season. I mean, right now, I mean, deer season's coming up, but we're boiling traps, we're going to conventions, we're getting everything ready. And you just got to stay on it. It's a heritage that drives you for 365 days out of the year. And the guys that take advantage of that and have the drive and the push, they're the ones that are going to succeed in the field. And that's what Trapping Time's all about.